Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today is February 14, 2024, and today is Wednesday morning. Happy Valentine's, everyone. But first, looking at the highlights of the day, the U.S. markets sell off. Now, looking at today's major economic events, first, at 9 a.m. South Africa time, we have out of Great Britain a yearly CPI number coming out. Now, looking at the various markets going into today's activity, we're watching in terms of the Forex symbols, the US dollar advancing versus the major pairs, inverse relationship with the indices. Both the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ had a very deep sell-off yesterday. Now, looking at commodities, gold tumbles while oil pushing even higher to resistance level. Now, looking at the stocks, it's almost across the board that we saw a sell-off, some weaker than others. We'll go through it. And also, lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin sells off, but makes a recovery. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here you go. First with the Euro USD. Now we mentioned this 2 days in a row. We've been watching it. Okay, it hasn't been just the most explosive trade out there, but it was a decent enough trade to really follow it. We got that bounce. Okay, when we hit 107.33ish level, we got the bounce to 107.80ish level. We went even closer to the 08 level. And then we respected our moving average. That 8-day moving average was respected, didn't move above it, and then just broke below and continued that downwards momentum. Now, I don't have to draw a trend line, a downwards trend line, because you have that 8-day moving average, the red line on the screen. That is where it's at. And right now we're trading at 107.13, which is supportish level. It's a second supportish level, and I want to see it, whether or not it's going to bounce here, because what's happening right now in the markets is that the dollar is getting stronger because the indices are getting weaker. But if we get a bounce in the indices, that means the dollar is going to go down. So keep that in mind, and that means the euro is going to go up here at this area. So keep this in mind later today. GBP USD coming out with that CPA number. Didn't budge so much down. This is interesting. Holding itself up. Now, it could be that it's waiting for this number to see if this is going to unload today. Now, looking at the Australian dollar, did sell off, and so did the Japanese yen, which is really important because remember I said to you the other day, the Japanese yen is the one to follow because it's the leading indicator. And sure enough, it went to new lows. We're only about 100 pips away from its all-time record lows. So this can continue going lower. So just keep this on the radar as well. Now, jumping into commodities, gold sold off. We're looking first at a weekly chart. I mean, it didn't sell off huge. I mean, if we look at this daily, okay, let me just keep it in perspective here. We've been trading within this range, 1982 to 2070-ish level, in that range, about $100 range. And we're at the bottom of that range. Okay, we're about $10 below that range. Okay, on a 4-hour chart, looks like a nosedive, which it is. Okay, we went from 2027 down to 1992. That's a decent enough move. That's almost a $40 move altogether. So keep that in mind that this, if it does break down further, okay, which I don't think it is because there's still some inflation fears in the market, just keep an eye on this because this could still develop on the downside as well. Now, looking at crude oil, the other direction, holding itself. Now, it's on resistance, okay, and it's been trading between the support and resistance, and we're at the 200-day moving average. We're getting closer to the extension of that move. Okay, as long as it doesn't break above 78.50, it'll correct itself, okay? That has been the natural progression for oil. Now, jumping into the U.S. markets, this is where it gets really interesting. The Dow Jones nosedives. Now, this is very telling, okay, because ultimately it's profit taking. The markets have been to new all-time record highs, and now the question is which stocks are less weak than other stocks? And that's what you want to pay attention to right now, because in a market sell-off, this could be profit taking or it could be the beginning of a new trend. Now, we are going to election year. That's relatively a unstable kind of time, so keep that in mind. As you know, there's a big question mark here which way the market's going to go. Are they going to rebound, or is this the start of a new downwards trend? Okay, so keep that in mind. Looking at the NASDAQ, here we are, 17,687 as well. This one sold off even more, 500 points here. Now, looking at the Dow Jones, just to give you some perspective, this has lots of weight on the downside. Okay, I mean, we started out, you know, last year from October 2023 at 32,500 even, and we hit 38,000. That's over 6,000 points. So a correctional move of about 50% is somewhat relatively due. Now, in case that there's inflation, which part is really the value of the market? That is yet to be determined. That's more of a fundamental question, and that's something, beyond technical analysis. Now, looking at the individual stocks, let's take a look at it because this is really where it gets very important. The JP Morgan, which is the largest bank, it budged down, but it didn't budge down big. This is the thing, okay? It sold off, but didn't break any major area. Didn't have a crossover with the moving averages, didn't break the 30-day moving average. It sold off and bounced back, okay? If we look at Microsoft, this did, okay? Closing down 14 points. Ultimately, that's a big deal. Facebook sold off, but again, not that big of a deal, okay? So I'm trying to see which ones are less weak and to see which ones possibly will have that bigger bounce if the market gives us a bounce, and that's what I'll be looking to do. Now, looking at Apple, also sold off and did hold itself with that 200-day moving average. Now, jumping into Amazon, it gapped down but showed some strength, and this is where it's becoming very stock specific. Yes, the market sold off, but some sold off less than others, and that's where you want to pay attention to. Now, jumping into lastly, NVIDIA didn't budge so much down, okay? So the one that is leading us higher really did not. So the markets are not giving me clear direction of we're going to sell off, okay? So I have a big question mark as to which way the market's going to go next. Looking at Bitcoin, we hit that 50,000 mark. We retraced just a little bit, but on considering, look at a weekly chart. We've been on a rampage on the upside since, at the beginning of September, and we hit from 27,000 to almost doubling to 50K. And for us to retrace this a little bit, that's not concerning. The question is whether or not we're going to continue with this momentum on the upside, or we're going to just trade sideways, at least for now. And that's something to continue. Now, the big thing about Bitcoin is its volatility. So just keep that in mind and its movement. And that's how you want to play it, just a scalping kind of environment. This is Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.